Yes, welcome along to our Upping The Ante Cheltenham Festival preview, and have we got a treat in store for you. We searched high and low for the two best tipsters in Ireland, and we have managed to get them on the same couch at the same time. Yes, it is indeed Racing TV extraordinaire Gary O'Brien and our very own Johnny Dineen. Thanks very much, lads, for joining our Cheltenham preview.
Good to be here, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very lucky couch, that is now.
Is it?
Have two fellas like you there.
Oh, I thought it had a bit of history.
Something else altogether.
Jesus, and we're going to back a few winners.
No, I thought it was whoever said the last year tipped a load of winners. I said that'll do fine.
Now, I have to say, a question came in from the crowd earlier on in the series of our Upping The Ante, and it came in to you, Johnny. It was, who is your favourite racing pundit? And your answer was?
Was Gary was up there, yeah.
Was Gary O'Brien, yeah.
But he was the main man, yeah.
It was quite a decisive yes for Gary O'Brien, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I asked Gary O'Brien who was his favourite Upping The Ante presenter, and he said Johnny Dineen. But I'm not too worried because I was second, okay? So just to talk you through the show today, we're going to go bang, bang, bang. 4 days, the two lads' opinion. We're going to do it in less than an hour. So we're not going to be like them preview nights that linger on all night long, and next thing it's 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. No, you're going to be done in an hour. So for the next, hopefully 55 minutes or so, you're going to get the views of these two geniuses. So we're going to kick off with the Supreme Novice Hurdle, 1:30 next Tuesday. And the 9-4 favourite at the moment is Facile Vega, out to restore his reputation after a blowout at the Dublin Racing Festival. 7-2 Marine Nationale, 7-1 Elete Toms, which was indeed Gary O'Brien's horse to follow at the start of the season. Yes, that's how good he is. 15-2 Gaelic Warrior, it is 10-1 to Muir, and it is 14-1 High Definition. Right, Gary, you're the guest, so we have to kick off with you. The Supreme Novice Hurdle, how are you seeing it?
Well, he's my horse to follow this season. I'm glad you didn't mention my horse to follow from the previous season, because that never won a race and couldn't jump either. It was a horse of Henry de Bromhead's.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah.
Maroon and white colours. I thought he'd make a good chaser, and he couldn't jump. God love him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was a once-off, Gary. We'll let you away with one bad
Yeah, give me a pass for that. Look, yeah, I am a big fan of the horse. I actually remember being here last year and fancying him to run a big race in the Triumph, but not for the first time. He kind of burnt himself out, ran a bit keen, made a couple of mistakes on the way around. Now, he was still there going to the last, which was a good run in what I thought was a fair Triumph Hurdle last year. And I think the experience he got last year is standing to the horse now. I was a little bit disappointed with him at Christmas. Facile Vega kicked him out of the way, handy enough, but obviously he then rebounded with the win at the Dublin Racing Festival. Yes, Facile Vega blew out that day in High Definition, unseated JJ Slevin, but he still beat a couple of fair horses in the pocket and Dark Raven, who was third. So I'd take a pretty positive view of what he did there, and I actually would rate that slightly higher than, say, maybe a horse like Marine Nationale's win in the Royal Bond. I think it's maybe slightly stronger form. So look, he's been easy enough to back in the run up to the race day, but I think he's at a fair price now if someone wanted to have a few quid in him. I'd find it very hard from a punter's perspective to get stuck into Facile Vega after that run last time. I mean, yeah, the vibes are good from the yard. It is Willie Mullins we're talking about here, so anything is possible, but it's a long old week, and to be getting stuck into a horse at the price he's turning into now, 2-1, 9-4 on the back of that run, it wouldn't be for me. So
Johnny Dineen, you were with Facile Vega very much so.
Yeah.
Couldn't contemplate defeat. Then you couldn't contemplate victory. So where do you stand at the moment with Facile Vega?
Well, when he was beat in Leopardstown, like I was looking at the prices in the exchanges, and I was saying, like, you can lay 5-1. I wouldn't back it at 50.
I didn't think he'd run after that.
Yeah, you know. And now he hasn't run in between, and now he's going to be 2-1. So yeah. I think you have to take a chance and bet 2-1 and he won't win. Because he has to be good enough anyway. Do you know what I mean? He has to be good enough. Like, the thing about opposing a horse like maybe Shishkin in his race, that if you knew that if he came back to his best, he was the best horse. But even if this guy's back to his best, who knows? He still may not even be the best horse. I'll be taking my chances with him anyway for certain. And Marine Nationale is a bad price too. I think it under 4-1. That's horrific odds. That's going to be bigger than that too when the time comes, without a doubt. I have a feeling that like these people that drive the markets like algorithms, they'll be all against Marine Nationale. Guaranteed. There's about 6 or 7 stats against that horse. You know what I mean? So I guarantee that, like, Gary's horse could even be inside Marine Nationale in the betting in the finish.
Really?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Like, to me, it's money for all rope laying your man now at 4-1, because you will be able to, now whether he wins or not, you can always trade back at 5 or 6-1, because that's the price he will be when the time comes.
So you've told us what's not going to win the race.
Yeah.
What's going to win it?
Look, I'd be opposing the front two in the market. If I was working like I did one time, I'd be having a go in this race because I think it's wide open, and I think there's a real possibility of an outsider. I'm going to go high definition. I'm going to back him win only because he's a real blowout merchant. If he doesn't win, I think he's a horse that will bomb away from the front if he gets into a rhythm, gets jumping. I could see him being difficult to catch, and Dr. Bravo will be ridden from the other direction, probably creeping into the race, and he'd be a horse for me each way. So I'd be going high definition. I'll be having 3 bets in the race, and high definition, or 4 actually. High definition.
Just keep going, Johnny. You're going to back the lot.
High definition to win. Dr. Bravo each way, and laying the favourite.
Okay, there we go. And Dr. Bravo is 25 to 1 shot with Bet365, 14 to 1 high definition, and he's laying. Facile Vega is currently your 9 to 4 favourite with Bet365, and it is 7 to 1 shot. Ilete Toms for Gary O'Brien. So we're up and running. That is your Supreme Novice Hurdle, and it's on to the Arkle. 6 to 4 favourite at the moment is El Fabiolo. It is 13 to 8 John Bon, 9 to 2 Dysart Dynamo, 9 to 1 Santua, and 12 to 1 Bar. Johnny, we're going to start with you here. Are you a John Bon man or are you an El Fabiolo man?
Okay, it would have been close to call up to Warwick, but I'm going the other way now, in a big way. El Fabiolo. I think if he does things right, all you're depending on him is to go around in relatively in one piece. If he does, it's going to be a small field, 5 or 6 horses. His jumping shouldn't be pressurised that much in a small field. I'd rather back one in a 6-horse race that was jumping small bit iffy than a 14-horse race anyway. He's never going to be that far off the pace. Dysart Dynamo will make the running again, that's a certainty. I presume John Bon will be second, but Jermaine isn't going to give him too much rope either, Paul Townend. I can't fancy Dysart Dynamo. He's been in the top grade 3 times. In the last year's Supreme, Punchestown, and this year's Arkle in Leopardstown, and beat out his sight on 3 occasions anyway. In my eyes, I couldn't have him, even though he will make the running. I think it's probably a match between him and John Bon. John Bon is probably the safer jumper, but if El Fabiolo is there with him coming towards the last, I think there's only going to be one winner.
Okay, so it's El Fabiolo for Johnny Dineen at 6 to 4, Bet365. Are you in the same camp, Gary?
I would just prefer El Fabiolo, Dave. I think of the two of them, he's the more talented horse, and I think his form is stronger as well. The Leopardstown race, I think it was Davy Russell said it was as good a Novice Chase he ever rode in. That's high praise, and I thought he did really well. The mistake he made down the back straight, I actually didn't think it was a terrible mistake, and he recovered from it very quickly. Obviously, you wouldn't want to see him do something like that, maybe at one of the downhill fences at Cheltenham, but obviously also John Bon, after what happened at Warwick, does that just maybe put a little bit more of a question mark over him? I wouldn't rule out Dysart Dynamo entirely. If he were to...
Johnny is.
Yeah, well, sure, look, it's all about opinions. If he gets his own way in the front end and settles maybe a little bit better the way he did when he won his beginners at Leopardstown. He only had a solo that day. The chances of that happening here probably unlikely, but just if that were to happen, I wouldn't rule him out. It's actually just shy of 2 miles on a sharp track, so look, I do think he's third best, but I wouldn't be shocked if he won. I'd be siding with El Fabiolo, but it wouldn't be a confident shout. Okay,
we have one confident shout and one not so confident shout for El Fabiolo in the Arkle. Moving on to the Ultima. It is the 3rd race on Tuesday, and currently our 8 to 1 favourite is Corach Rambler, very well backed and put up by Johnny Dineen on the latest episode of Up in the Ante at 10 to 1. 10 to 1 into Overdrive. It is 10 to 1 also Nasalam, the Goffer from the Gordon Elliott stable, 12 to 1 3 under through 5, Oscar Elite, Fast or Slow, and 14 to 1 Bar. Right, Gary, you first bat here.
Corach Rambler, I have nothing against him. I think he'd struggled to pull off the tactics that he used last year. I don't think it was by design, in fairness, was it? I think he just ended up a long way back in the field. He's got his chance. It's not a race that would have been particularly kind to me down the years. I don't know how heavily I'd be getting involved, but I do like into Overdrive as a horse. I know sometimes the northern-based horses can struggle a bit when they come down south, but he had a good run against L'Impresse in the rehearsal chase earlier on in the season, flattered by proximity to the winner, but he backed that up with a win in the Roland Merrick at Wetherby, beat Sounds Russian, was getting a fair chunk of weight off him, but Sounds Russian went on and ran a really good race in the good race, the graded race at Cheltenham afterwards. So look, he's a horse I like, and he's a horse that tends to race close to the pace as well, which I think is a big plus in a race like this. So he'd be the one I'd probably veer towards at this stage.
Into Overdrive, a 10 to 1 shot with Bet365. Now, Johnny, we spoke about this the other day, and this was fast becoming one of your strongest fancies of the week, Corach Rambler. Your latest selection on Up in the Ante. Yeah, are you still a sweet?
I think he's a great chance, yeah. I think he'll need a bit of luck and running at the same time. You will in a race
he's not a Johnny Dineen style horse now, I have to say. You don't like them held up, and he'll be held up.
Well, he shouldn't be, as Gary said. I don't think it was by the complete design that he was so far back last year. He definitely missed time to start. And I assume that makes some effort to keep him some way closer anyway. But he's a horse that doesn't have finish races, like, you know what I mean? If he's there bearing down on horses, because I actually, last year, I had something on the pipe horse in that race, and he was belting it off Oscar. I'd completely forgotten about Corda Rambler. And next thing I just see this thing, I'm beaten anyway. It's all the one whether he beats Oscar. And next thing I said, Jesus, Corda Rambler. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't believe he was even in there. I wasn't even watching them all the way
Well,
around.
you'd actually backed him.
Yeah, it's small on him and the pipe horse that was second.
Yeah.
Both each way. But look, it wasn't a big bet, no. But I won't be going bald-headed for anything like that. Like, it's an 8-1 chance at the same time. But look, I think it has a good chance, a very good chance.
Okay, very good. That is your Ultima. It is into overdrive for Gary O'Brien, and it is last year's winner, Cork Rambler, for Johnny Dineen. Moving on to the champion hurdle. Are we in agreement, Gary, that the Constitution Hill will win before we start?
I think he will, yeah. Everyone else
absolutely,
agree?
yeah.
So the betting without market at the moment is 2-5 Statement, 11-4 Vauban, 9-2 I Like to Move It, 7-1 Bar. Gary, with this market, is it a case of Stateman will definitely be second, or should we be looking elsewhere?
I do rate Vauban as a horse, and I think Vauban is better maybe than he showed at Leopardstown last time. I think Stateman was able to really dominate that race from the word go. I actually thought Honeysuckle might make the running that day, but Stateman made it. It basically was all over after jumping a couple of hurdles, I thought. Vauban was ridden at the back again.
Made a mistake at the first as well.
Exactly, yeah. He's kind of on the back foot straight away. Made some late gains. I don't know whether the vibes are necessarily that he's come forward from that as much as you'd like, but I wouldn't be shocked if he made more of a race of it with Stateman. It's hard to envisage Stateman being able to dominate the champion hurdle the way he dominated the Irish race in Leopardstown. So I do rate Vauban, and whatever happens, I think Vauban will be third at worst.
Well, I completely agree, but that's not an opinion shared by Johnny Dineen.
No, I wouldn't bet this race at the same. I mean, 5-1 Stateman is a scandalous price at the same time. Of course it is. Sure, I mean, if Constitutional didn't run Stateman, it wouldn't be 2-5, would he? Not a prayer. So I just think betting without is like you're betting in a race that doesn't exist anyway for starters. Like, it's like back at a soccer team and they win in extra time and you're on in 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? They're two different events. Yeah. So, like, I think Stateman is the second best horse in the race, but I wouldn't back him without the favourite at 2-5 because you're betting on a race. If he takes on the favourite, next thing something nuts him near the line for a second. I don't know.
So I like to move it maybe 9-2 without Constitution Hill each way or something like that.
No, I just think you can back a horse without the favourite in the race. You know, I just think you're betting on something that it's out of your control, basically. You know what I mean? Vauban is actually the horse that's going to be ridden from the back, suiting without,
that's what I'd be thinking as well,
the favourite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I do, if Stateman met Vauban and let the favourite out of it, I'd sell out in Stateman to beat Vauban. But in a race, in this kind of a market, I wouldn't back. Maybe I wouldn't fall down if Vauban finished in front of Stateman at the same time.
Okay, excellent. And we think Constitution Hill will comfortably, yeah?
I do, definitely, yeah.
Okay, that is your champion hurdle preview. Moving swiftly on to the Close Brothers Mares hurdle, and it is the dual champion hurdler. Honeysuckle is currently our 5-2 favourite. 4-1 the supplemented Pertemps has been supplemented yesterday. 9-2 Marie's Rock, 13-2 Love Envoy, your Mares Novice Hurdle winner from last season. 7-1 Brandy Love, 8-1 Echoes and Rain, and 10-1 Bar. Johnny Dineen, Honeysuckle, where do you stand at the moment?
Look, I couldn't have her, David. I think they'll
still, Johnny.
No, it doesn't matter if they run the race next year. I'll still be again her. It's all the one.
Will she be older anyway, Johnny?
Yeah, but
and retired.
Yeah.
So you'll probably collect.
I don't know. I just can't have her. I just think she's gone. I just think she's.
The vibes are quite good again.
Look, the vibes must have been good the last day too, because there's somebody backed her for about 5-2 to 5-4 at the same time. You hear all this old nonsense about vibes and everything. she's going well. That she's only coming to herself. The fellas that were milling into her the last day didn't think she was that was the case at the same time. They weren't too worried about her coming to herself. I can't have her anyway. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll put my hands up and my money will be gone. But I'll be taking my chances anyway. And I'd fancy a complete blowout.
Complete blowout.
No,
right.
Not in the first three in my eyes.
Wow.
Anyway.
You're going to play Slayer?
I might for something, yeah. But I'll be backing horses against her as well, probably.
Okay.
You know?
And what will they be?
Well, I was hoping Marie's Rocket would run. I would definitely have backed Marie's Rock. The fact that Pertemps has been supplemented, Marie's Rock can't be running now anyway, surely. Can it? Like the Bartlett's a deluge or something like that. There's no way they'll bring Marie's Rock back now. They didn't supplement Pertemps to run Marie's Rock again, or I would have thought. Look, there's others there would cover like Brandy Love, Echoes and Rain, Love Envoy. I think the most likely one to beat her is Pertemps. I don't think that has gone back nowhere near the same level as Honeysuckle.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know they do fancy Pertemps fairly strongly too, so like I could see that winning, but I'd just probably stick my neck out and lay Honeysuckle and have them all running for me.
Okay, there you go. He is against Honeysuckle, Johnny Dineen. There's no heart involved with Johnny, it's all up here in the head. Gary, are you more positive with regard to Honeysuckle?
I think she has her chance, yeah. I would have been like Johnny if Marie's Rock turned up here, I would have been with her. Honeysuckle, to me, she hasn't regressed that much. I'd kind of be more thinking along your lines. The run in the Hatton's Grace hurdle, I didn't think it was a terrible run by any means. She looked the winner for probably 85% of that race. And as I say, I don't think they made enough use of her at Leopardstown last time, so I wouldn't be as negative about her maybe as Johnny is. That said, would you back her? I don't think I would. If Eberton hadn't made that mistake at the last in the champion hurdle last year, she would have been right up her tail, so there can't be too much between them, you'd imagine, in terms of the mare's hurdle this year. And there are others with chances. Brandy Love, for all that it wasn't a great run, I didn't think it Punchestown the other day. I think it was a means to an end just to get her going again. Echoes and Rain is a filly I like. She only got going too late in this race last year. And there are others there as well. Obviously Love Envoy comes into the race too. So look, the percentage call, if you ask me would I back or lay Honeysuckle, if that was the choice, I'd probably lay her, but I wouldn't rule out a fairy tale win for her at the same time.
And if you were having a bet and you mightn't, what would it be?
I'd probably chance Echoes and Rain again. She seems to be settling a little bit better in the races now. She was dropped right out the back last year. I was kind of fancying her for the race last year, and I think she finished 5th. It was too little too late. Now it does look as though it's going to be a small field. I think there's only 10 entered at the 5-day stage. Whether those tactics she'll be able to get any closer this time, I don't know. But if I did have to play it, that's probably the way I'd go.
That is your Mayor's Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival, which will follow the Champion Hurdle, and then swiftly followed by the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. And at the moment, Takao, who's been favoured for the last number of weeks, is currently our 4-1 favourite with Bet365, 15-2 Biker. It is 8-1 Rispel, 10-1 Sir Alan, and 12-1 Bar. We'll stick with you here, Gary. A good favourite or not, Takao?
I think he is, yeah. I'd say he's not far off a Grade 1 horse, to be honest. To me, he was almost looked to be going every bit as well as the winner in the Leopardstown Grade 1 last time, and then kind of just flattened out a little bit in the straight. Wasn't given by any means a hard time. I'd say this has been his goal for a while, but the connections obviously have a few other bullets to fire at it. Horses like Common Practice, Risk Bell, who was well backed for a handicap at Leopardstown. That did fall that day. It's not ideal to be coming into this in the back of a fall. And I was interested to see actually Cougar was taken out, but Padraig Roach, who trained the winner last year, has left in Sundial, who showed nothing in a handicap last time, but had actually shown a bit of promise in some of those good juvenile hurdles before that. So it's a strong hand that JP McManus has for the race. I think Takeo is the best of them. The horse with the most ability, if you like. Would he be the one I go with? I think he would overall. I reckon there's a bit more to come from him. If he is, as I suspect, not far off Grade 1 standard, he's probably on a fair enough mark too. So, and I see McTighe has been left in the race as well, so yes. It doesn't look like he's going to have to carry top weight either. No. Johnny, one of your best selections on Up in the Ante in the series so far was Takao.
Yeah, look, he's a good chance.
11-1 you're in at, now 4-1.
Yeah, look, he's a good chance. The price is about right now though. It's slightly more open race than I thought. I'd say JP will win this race, all right, but he has 3 or 4 goals, as Gary said, and look, if Takao would have faced him now at 4-1, I probably wouldn't. To be honest, but like I do think an Irish horse will win it at the same time. I can't have the English horses in relation to the Triumph. If they don't have a horse within under 50-1 the Triumph, I can't see him winning the Boodles. That's my reading of it anyway. Takao, like it's kind of a case of if you missed the boat, would you back it? No, I'm not so sure that you would. No, to be honest. Like he is a goodish horse definitely, but there'll be a few other lurkers here, not just Takao.
Okay, so the two boys are with Takao, but not necessarily thinking he's terrific value at 4-1. And the concluding race on Tuesday is the National Hunt Chase, and we have a very short price favourite here in the shape of Galar de Menil, who's 5-4 Bet365, 5-1 Malheur Mission, who Barry O'Neill was supposed to ride, but he is now switched to Manila Crooner. It is 6-1 Chemical Energy, 7-1 Ramilles, Churchtown Warriors also 7-1. The aforementioned Manila Crooner is 10-1, and the horse who doesn't really like winning, Mr. Coffee, is 11-1, and a 33-1 Bar. Right, Johnny Dineen, Galar de Menil, a lot of punters will be trying either way to get out, to either make a few bob after having a good day on Tuesday, or to try and completely get out by recovering losses on Galar de Menil. He is the banker for many people on Tuesday. Will he win?
No, I think he'll get beat.
No, that was a confident no.
Yeah, I think he'll get beat. And like he's a horse now that I could see myself, if I was in real manure going into that race, I could have a go trying to get my money back laying him. If Honeysuckle and a few started winning before that and he topped it off, I could be heading for.
There's people watching this, right?
I could be heading home Tuesday night.
There's people watching this show, right? And they're saying, that's pure manure coming out of your mouth, right? Because he has the Grade 1 form. Why are you taking him on? He was third in the Ballymore, he was third in the Brown Advisory, he's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles, he's a Grade 1 winner over fences, he's the highest rated horse in the race, he's a second season novice. Tell me why he won't win.
But you could say, look, he's thirds and he's plenty thirds and seconds though at the same time. He's beaten Churchstone Warrior, who I find it difficult enough to fancy in this race, to be honest. That's his Grade 1 form over fences, only for starters. Yeah. His Grade 1 form over hurdles is an eternity ago, anyway. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even count that. The fact that he's a second season novice, it probably gives him an edge over experience-wise, but he didn't seem to get home in the Grand National in Fairyhouse last year. He still has to prove he gets the trip. And there's a nice bit of cover here. Particularly if the ground is on the goodish side. Like horses like Chemical Energy are really banging this race then. And like there's Mahler Mission. There's even the one that you wouldn't have expected, like that George said that Bon O'Neill have switching onto. It's a nice little horse they've run for you opposing.
Manila Crooner.
Yeah, exactly. So he must be doing things right to switch off Mahler Mission to go on to him. Look, I think there's 4 or 5 horses a chance of beating Gala Dineen, and I'll be going for him anyway. Big style.
Big style.
Yeah.
Johnny Dineen is laying Gala Dineen.
The price he's only 5 to 4, is he?
Yeah.
Gee, I think he's a horrendous price now.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
I don't think that's a bad price.
Oh, I think it's horrific. Horrific, but I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
Have you,
too.
Johnny?
I have once or twice.
Oh, once, yeah.
A day. Really half an hour.
Gary, are you in the same kind of way of thinking as Johnny?
I think I would be overall, yeah, I would.
I thought you were going to bring some sense to the argument.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
He has the Grade 1 form, as you say, but there are others in this who... Churchstone Warrior wasn't far off him in that Grade 1. His main danger that day, unfortunately, fell, 3-stripe life. He doesn't win a lot of races.
But on that, right, he doesn't win a lot of races. This is what I'm hearing the arguments. He doesn't win a lot of races. He's running in Grade 1s, okay? If he was running all his races in the National Hunt type of races...
He ran the Irish National off a nice mark too.
Yeah, but it's the Irish National and he was a novice. Like, he ran well.
I'm not saying he ran badly, but he still came up a bit short, didn't he?
Okay, he did come up short. Okay.
I'd be of the same view as Johnny. I don't know whether I'd get stuck into laying him, but I'll definitely back something each way against him. Mahler Mission was the one I was kind of leaning towards, but you've thrown a spanner in the works there with Barry O'Neill switching
Johnny Barry rides it now.
Rides Mahler Mission. He's a good jockey as well, but I think it's, as Johnny said, the idea that Barry O'Neill is now happy to get off him. To ride Manila Crooner, I think it was your nap last year at the festival, wasn't he?
He was my nap in the Albert Bartlett last year. I was actually in Gordon Elliott's yesterday morning, and Manila Crooner was one of the horses that worked particularly well. I think he's just coming into life now, Manila Crooner.
He got turned over at a short price last time, but I wouldn't hold that against him. It was a kind of messy sort of race.
Needed to qualify as well.
Inside track at Fairyhouse, yeah, I'd say it was a means to an end. I think Sam Ewing rode him and he lost his irons. Now he probably wouldn't have beaten the winner anyway, but it just, I'd put a line through that one, to be honest, and I kind of judge him more on what he achieved before that.
Okay, so but you're giving him a squeak here, yeah?
Definitely, yeah. I think actually hearing that news about the jockey book, and that's the way I'd go.
Okay, Manila Crooner for Gary, but the two lads are taking on Gala Dineen. Now that is your day 1 preview, but before we move on, we want a play and a lay on day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival from the two of you. Johnny, I'd say you're after mentioning any amount of lays. So which is the best of the lays? Which is the one horse you'll be taking on most of all on Tuesday?
Honeysuckle, definitely,
Honeysuckle.
I'd say, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, look, I don't lay a lot of horses, Dave, but you've asked me for one on the first
Just
day.
for the purpose of the show,
exactly,
Gary, okay?
yeah.
You're on Upping The Ante now, I'm not
exactly.
on Racing
No,
TV,
I'm happy
okay?
to
So
oblige.
you have to stick to the
I'm
terms
happy
and
to
conditions.
Gary Dineen.
Gary Dineen for Gary. And the best play, the play of the day on Tuesday, Gary?
I'm going to go Elate Tomp in the first.
And Johnny?
I'll go El Fabiolo, please.
El Fabiolo in the Arkle. That was your day 1 preview. Come back quickly for day 2. So welcome back to our Upping The Ante Cheltenham Festival preview with Gary O'Brien and Johnny Dineen, and we're going to kick on with day 2, and the opening race, always a corker, is the Ballymore Novice Hurdle at 1:30, and your current 9-4 favourite, very well backed, is Imperial Pass, big talking horse on the preview night circuit. 3-1 Hermes Allen, who spent most of the last few weeks favourite for this race. He has been usurped. 9-2 Gaelic Warrior, it is 11-2 Goodland, 8-1 Champ Kiley, and 16-1 Bar. Gary O'Brien, we're going to kick off with you here because I know you've got a strong fancy.
Well, it would be one of my stronger fancies on day 2, David. I wouldn't necessarily say be my strongest of the week, but Goodland, I think, is a solid each way bet here. I'll come on to Imperial Pass in a second, but Goodland, to me, looks a very uncomplicated horse who jumps well, has won a Grade 1. Yes, I've heard the point made he's going to be ridden by a £5 claimer who can't use his claim, but he has won a couple of Grade 1s, but he didn't have his £5 claim. He doesn't look out of place, Michael O'Sullivan, in these races. And as I say, he'll probably be ridden close to the pace. He is an each-way price, and I just think he's got a lot going. I can't see him finishing out of the first 3, to be honest, Dave. He looks a very good horse to me. The maiden hurdle he won at Leopardstown looked a strong race at the time. I wouldn't think any differently about it now. And he kind of bossed that Leopardstown race from a long way out. To me, he looked the winner from probably halfway. I don't see too many flaws in him. Johnny and I have been on a few panels together, and he didn't bring me to Dubai now, mind you.
No, he didn't bring me either.
He didn't even send me a postcard,
no.
actually.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Johnny.
The vibes about Imperial Pass from the Mullins camp are obviously very strong, and you have to respect that. I mean, they've had umpteen good novice hurlers. I mean, you think of Vautour, Michael Dagenet, Duvan, all these horses that have won Faheen, that have all won these novice hurls. So look, you obviously sit up and take notice and respect that, but strictly on what he's achieved so far, he's probably a skinny enough price. If he holds it up, will I be surprised? Of course I won't, because they seem to be all over this horse. So look, as I say, full respect for that, but I think Goodland will be very, very hard to keep out of the frame, and look, who knows, you might even hit the jackpot.
There you go, hit the jackpot. 11-2, Goodland for Gary O'Brien. Johnny, where do you stand on this, Ballymore?
Ballymore, I'd be against Hermes Allen, and I'd be against Gaelic Warrior. Like the way they're talking about Imperial Pass is like Gaelic Warrior and even running. You know what I mean? That kind of way. And he's only
like Patrick Mullins might ride Gaelic Warrior. Yeah.
Is he only? He's on about 5-1. Like I think Imperial Pass.
Yeah.
Well, he'll go off 7-8-1 now, and the man will be only about 7-4. I'd say the Imperial Pass. He'll be clear favourite anyway. Look, the way that, as Gary said, you have to take notice of these people when they start talking about this in the way they're talking about him. He still hasn't a lot done though at the same time. You know what I mean? If you do back him and he's beat, you're saying to yourself, geez, how did I back that?
Why did I listen to that rubbish?
At 7-4. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to back him. I'm not going to pose him either. I'd probably take a few quid out of Hermes Allen. I find it difficult to fancy him anyway.
Why, Johnny? Why now?
Because I just think, David, there's no English novice in England worth the carrot except possibly him.
Yeah. But what is he supposed to do?
But it's difficult enough to believe that there is one English. I'm just willing to say that they're all no good. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? And his form suggests he's no good. Like Music Drive, who brisk them things.
So he hammered them.
He did by what, 7-8 lengths? We've all been caught.
What do you want him to do? Win by
25
lengths?
We've all been caught around atrocious in Leopardstown. Yeah. No fellas are saying it wasn't his running. Who said it wasn't his running? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't his running.
Or who says it wasn't?
Well,
maybe it wasn't his running. Like, a good chance it was his running, wouldn't it? Like,
well, I don't think so.
I don't know. I can't have Hermes Allen now. Especially, like these horses here now will be able to sit on his tail, no problem, none whatsoever. And there's a horse well capable of a blowout as well, Hermes Allen. I fancy that'll be nowhere in this race anyway. But a horse that I like is In the Pocket.
Yes.
I think he's a good horse. He's like double figures. Like the fact that he won that race in Naas. I think Three Car Bragg is a really, really good horse, and beat him. I beat him fair and square in my eyes. Fellas are critical of the rider. I wasn't, like, I backed Three Car Bragg. I thought he was going to beat fair and square. And the run back at 2 miles was like only a keep his eye in, like, because he had an ocean running in the 2 mile race, obviously, so he's coming here instead. I think he's a dangerous horse. I think he has a chance of definitely running into a place. But the favourite, maybe, if the people that know that are right, he'd probably be hard to beat, but I'm chancing In the Pocket each way.
You're chancing In the Pocket at a very generous 16-1 with Bet365, an industry best price, and it's 11-2. Good lad for Gary O'Brien. Moving on to the Brown Advisory, your 15-8 favourite is Jerry Colomb, 5-1 The Real Whacker. It is also 5-1 Sir Gerhard, 11-2 Time Hill, 12-1 Ramilles and Gallard O'Neill. One of those could run here, one of them could run in the National Hunt Chase, and it is 16-1 Bar. Jerry Colomb, Johnny. He's dividing opinions up and down the country. Yeah. He's either the lay of the week for many people or he's the bet of the week for a lot of people.
But
Where do you stand?
he wouldn't be a lay of the week for me, or a lay at all. In fact, I think he's the best horse in the race under the right conditions. But look, he seems to be able to function on goodish ground or good to yielding, that kind of stuff. But he's not as effective though, and he will definitely underperform slightly, I think, on good to yielding or yielding whatever ground. Now, if it turns into a slogfest, he's in business. Now, I couldn't see him getting beat then, because he loved the trip and he's a great jumper. He's safe conveyance as well. He's probably the horse with a lot of raw ability. Like, he's potential Gold Cup winner, and then I don't see any other horse with that kind of make-up really in this contest. Like, it all depends on the ground. If he'll be short if the ground is bad though, and if the ground is good, he's vulnerable. To me, I'm going to watch him. I wouldn't back him or lay him now, to be honest. But I wouldn't put anyone off backing him either, to be honest.
And when you came in here as a baby-faced assassin, your very first show went Up in the Ante, your very first tip, nobody knew anything really about you, Johnny. And now look at you, off to Dubai, celebrity status. But when you came in here, your very first tip was Time Hill. Are you keeping the faith?
Time Hill only has a chance in my book. Chance. Like, I mean, I won't fall down if it wins, but I certainly won't be back in it at 5 or 6 to 1 anyway.
Okay.
I think it has a chance. That's all. That's
okay.
all. Yeah.
Gary, Brown Advisory.
Yeah, look, I have nothing against Jerry Colombe, Dave. He's a very, very hard horse to knock. He's still unbeaten. I just think for anybody who's considering backing him, all the ducks aren't quite in a row. First of all, obviously you'd want to see how the ground turns up. Ideally, a bit of juice in the ground, and like, he is bumping into a couple of horses who would certainly achieved more than him over hurdles. Sir Gerhard, who won a Ballymore. Time Hill obviously was a very, very good hurdler as well. So they just be things at the back of my mind if I was thinking about getting stuck into Jerry Colombe. You know, you might end up feeling a little bit silly if one of those beat him and you'd taken a short price about him. There's one in there, the big price. I don't know whether he'll run or not, but if he did pitch up, I think he could go well. The Devil's Coachman, a horse you quite like. Now, Noel Meade, I spoke to him in Leopard's Den the other day. He didn't mention anything about him running, so maybe it's not the plan. But he did win well at he got the race in the Stewards' Room at Naas last time. I thought he was the moral winner anyway. So he's a talented horse. He's a bit in and out, but in a smallish field here, could kind of probably potter away around the back. I could see him run a big race.
You know, it needs cutting the ground.
Exactly, he probably does. Yeah. I don't know whether he'll run or not, but he'd be an interesting one if he did pitch up.
Yeah, 18 to 1 shot with Bet365, the Devil's Coachman, not without a chance. Moving on to the Coral Cup, your 7 to 1 favourite now, very well backed, is Camprond, who was fourth in the race last year. Didn't really like the deluge of rain that came. 9 to 1 run for Oscar, HMSC horse 10 to 1, 11 to 1 Hot Unclers, and 12 to 1 Bar. Have you found this a handicap good thing, Gary?
Well, I don't know, you might be able to tell me, how has Camprond ended up on a £2 lower mark than last year?
Extraordinary stuff, really,
He's
isn't
had
it?
two completed runs over hurdles this season. He's come down £9.
2 miles at, or 1 mile 7 at Musselburgh.
And he won a big handicap hurdle at Punchestown after Cheltenham last year as well. I just can't get my head around that at all. He's handicapped to win the race, I think, because the ground went against him last year. How long would an Irish horse take to come down £9 in the weights?
2029 or so. Yeah.
This is what you're talking about. And then the Irish horses obviously are getting a few pounds added on as well. And from that perspective, my kind of angle this year is I'm looking for Irish horses that have already run in the handicaps in Britain and proven they can win or go close to be competitive off their marks. Run for Oscar is definitely one of those. I don't know whether necessarily I'd say he's a good thing here or anything, but I'd expect a big run out of him. He was third in the good hurdle at Haydock on Betfair Chase Day. I think he's off the same mark here. Conditions probably might end up suiting him a little bit better at Cheltenham than they did there, so he's got a big chance. Will he be able to beat Camprond if Camprond gets his conditions? I'd have grave doubts. It looks like Camprond's going to creep in at the bottom of the weight. So look, Camprond to me is the most likely winner. Yeah,
and he is 7 to 1 now at Bet365. I think that could actually even be an industry best price. Camprond at 7 to 1. Johnny Dineen, have you dissected the Coral Cup yet?
Yeah, and I don't actually fancy the bookies in this race. I think one of the ones up at the top of the betting, the first three you mentioned, Camprond, Run for Oscar and even HMSC horse could be dangerous too. Yeah, I thought you were into a lot of low types after that. You know what I mean? I think one of the front three will win this race, yeah. And Camprond is fired in. Run for Oscar is probably a good bit up in the weight, so giving him a lot of weight. But Run for Oscar is a fair tool at the same time. He's dangerous, and HMSC has a chance. Look, normally, if that was one time I'd be making a book in this race, you'd be having a go in the race. I don't actually fancy the book. I think I fancy the horse will win this and Campron. I wouldn't put anyone off back in any of the 3 of them horses, actually.
Okay, so you think it'll stay towards the top of the market?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The Champion Chase is the feature race on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. 15-8 Edward Stone, last year's Arkle winner. 2-1 in Ergumine. It is 13-2 Editor de Jeet, 9-1 Gentleman to Me, and 12-1 Blue Lord, 25-1 Bar. Johnny, we'll stick with you. You're one of the very few. Now, and I call you shrewd, okay? So you're in the shrewd camp, okay? You're one of the very few shrewd judges who is keeping the faith with an Ergumine.
Yeah, look,
so maybe you're not shrewd at all.
The fate isn't as strong as it was, though, at the same time. You know what I mean? It has waned a good bit from like the turn of the year. I mean, he's 4 to 5, 10 to 9 on or whatever, 10 to 11 at say in January, and now he's 2-1, and rightly so, to be honest. I mean, you'd no matter like how much you like the horse, you'd have to be worried now at the same time. Edward Stone is surely a big runner, but I don't really fancy anything else in the race now. All of a sudden, I think it's probably between the top 2. And I'd be hoping, no, I won't be having a big bet on Energumine. I might back him. No, I'll see when the time comes. I'll be hoping that he might just get first run on Edward Stone, and he might be able to hold him off. That's all, no, really. But I'm nowhere near as confident as I was.
No. Okay.
No.
It's waning.
Oh, it is, and it is. If I could finish up back in Edward Stone.
Don't say that, Johnny. You turncoat you.
I never thought I'd hear him say that.
Gary, I fancy Edward Stone. What do you fancy?
Yeah, it's a clean. Well, if he does turn to Edward Stone, it would be a clean sweep. He's the one I'd go for. The Cheltenham race last time, I suppose, yeah, it's a key piece of form, but I think this is going to be a totally different race tactically. I think Energumine, they'll make an awful lot more use of him this time. I've said it before, I think the best out of Energumine is when he's allowed stride on. He can be a really good jumper. He can take the odd liberty at his fences, but I thought in the Cheltenham race last time, he was almost jumping into the back of 1 or 2 of the horses in front of him. And it was just kind of halting his momentum a bit. He made the mistake at the last. Now, he was well beat at the time. But I don't think we saw the best of him that day. But then again, we didn't see the best of Edward Stone either, because he obviously was man-marking an Ergumine, stayed at the back, obviously took his measure and had to do an awful lot of running to get to the horse in front, and just got worried out of it close home. I think you'll see both of the big 2 sit much closer to the pace this time, and I think Edward Stone might just pick them off.
He's right. Listen to him now. He's right. Edward Stone wins the Champion Chase.
And all that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cross Country Chase is next on the running order on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Even money Delta Work, 11-4 Galvin. None of the rest really matter. Johnny, strong opinion?
Yeah, Delta Work or nothing for me. Softer the ground, the better his chance. I wouldn't entertain Galvin anyway. I wouldn't. No, Galvin is on the downward spiral. Pretty aggressive animal as far as I'm concerned, and it's first pop over these things too. I wouldn't back him anyway, Galvin. It'll be Delta Work or nothing for me.
Delta Work for you, Gary?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'd back him, David, but he looks the one to beat. Took to it very well last year. Ran okay, giving away weight last time out. I just have a little bit of a doubt about Galvin. The vibes seem to be good that he's taken to it well, but you would have liked to see a little bit more from him. I think in his last couple of runs, so Delta Work would be for me. Yeah,
clean sweep for Delta Work in the Cross Country Chase. I agree. The Grand Annual, always one of the hottest handicaps of the week at Cheltenham. Your 9-1 favourite is Akon Risk, your Betfair Hurdle winner. It is 9-1 also joint favourite Dino Blue, 10-1 final orders. Andy Dufresne last year's second is 10-1 shot, 12-1 third time lucky and unexpected party, and 14-1 Bar. Gary, we'll kick off with you in the Grand Annual. Andy Dufresne, can he do it this year?
I think he can. I'd say this has been his target ever since he crossed the line 12 months ago.
Would you think so, yeah?
I would say there's a fair chance.
Yeah, I'd say there's a chance too, yeah.
He's on the same mark, and I think you agree, maybe it might have been one that got away last year. The horse that won it was up there all the way. He had a bit to do. Couldn't quite claw him back. Yeah,
just got over it.
So look, obviously there's no guarantee the same thing mightn't happen again, but he's turning up off the same mark. He's had a very quiet season. I've no doubt he'll peak. Obviously on the second day at Cheltenham. I haven't gone into the race in forensic detail yet, but clearly from a handicapping point of view, he looks to have a great chance. Johnny?
Not a huge opinion in the Grand Annual. I like novices though in the Grand Annual, first season novices, and for that reason, if it was forced, I'd go Akon Risk. I think he's running off a very similar mark over hurdles as he's over fences, and that was a good effort in the Betfair hurdle. And his form over fences is quite decent too. So he'll be ridden aggressively, and he'll be up there. He'll be one of my men up in the front anyway. So he's a good chance, that's all.
Akon Risk for Johnny Dineen and Andy Dufresne for Gary. The final race on Wednesday is the Weatherby's Champion Bumper. And your favourite at the moment is a bit of a topsy-turvy market because we don't really know what's going to happen with the Willie Mullins jockey arrangements. But your current 7-2 favourite, It's For Me, likely, I suppose, to be ridden by Patrick Mullins. 4-1, A Dream to Share. 9-1, Fun, 10-1, Chapeau de Soleil. Fact of File, 11-1, and it is 12-1 bar. Now, Gary, I know you were down in Dungarvan. You've done a preview in Dungarvan. Dungarvan is a Dream to Share country because that is where John Kiley trains. What vibes are you getting about A Dream to Share?
Oh, sure, they won't hear of defeat from him down there. And in fairness, he does look a very good horse, David. I think I've heard more than one person say they think he could actually be a Melbourne Cup type of horse. Now, we've seen an Ascot Gold Cup winner get beat in this race before, rite of passage, so that doesn't necessarily translate that he's going to win the bumper at the Cheltenham Festival, but he did look very good at Leopardstown last time. He's a pacey horse who will be ridden, I'm sure, at the Pounce Late. That's the way John Kiley's horses usually are ridden anyway. If the ground stays decent, that would be a big plus for his chance as well. He will need a little bit of luck to pick his way through the field. Can be a rough race sometimes. John Gleeson, a lad I rate very highly. Obviously, he's not able to use his claim, but he couldn't use it at Leopardstown either, so that wouldn't necessarily worry me too much. Factifile is a solid horse, second to him last time out. He'll run a big race, I think. You and I both feel, I think, that Willie Mullins' best bumper horse isn't running. Ballyburn, who I was very sweet on if he turned up here.
I said it on a preview the night with Ruby and expecting Ruby to ridicule me like he usually does. I said, I think Ballyburn is his best young horse. And Ruby said, I agree. I was like, whoa, what's expecting that?
Wherever he goes, whether it's Ferryhouse, Punchestown, I'll be waiting for him. And I think Queen's Gamble, she's a bit of a forgotten horse. A lot of talk about her earlier on in the season after she hacked up at Cheltenham. She got beat at Market Raising last time, and look, in hindsight, I think maybe she went for home too early. Probably should have won that race if she had. She'd be a lot shorter than she is now. She could be a place option, maybe at a decent price.
Yeah, I think so. Johnny, a couple of weeks ago you tipped up It's For Me at 7-2. You got terrific value because It's For Me is still 7-2.
Yes, and probably will be 7-1. I don't know. Look, I'd be very lukewarm about It's For Me or any It's For Me in that race.
So it just mightn't be for you now?
No, it will not be It's For Me anyway. That's all I can tell you. I won't be having any bet in the race now, I don't think. It's actually more open race now than I thought it was going to be. I thought it wasn't going to be that good a contest, but it could be a very good race now all of a sudden. Mullins is a rake of horses. Look, they're all horses coming with the back of one, and it's nearly impossible to work out which is the best, and you'll be going by
your ears.
Yeah, ears and intuition, whatever. Like, I won't be having a bet in the race anyway, to be honest. I won't be surprised what won it.
Okay, that is the Weatherby's Champion Bumper, and that is day 2. So we need the plays and lays now. Gary, your lay of day 2 is?
Just because of the doubts I was talking about and maybe the strength of the opposition, Jerry Colombe.
And for you, Johnny?
I'll go Lane Hermé Allen, win and place. I'll chance them both ways.
With your old buddy Paul Nichols.
Yeah,
and your best bet, Johnny, on day 2?
My best bet, look, I'll stick with Inner Jameen, even though it wouldn't be a monster bet for me now, but he's nearly the best bet for me on that particular day.
On Wednesday, okay. Yeah. And Gary, your play on Wednesday?
I'll go Good Land each way, solid each way.
Good Land for Gary, and that was day 2. So we've moved on to Thursday, and the first race on Thursday is the Turner's Novice Chase. And your 6-4 favourite is Mighty Potter from the Gordon Elliott stable. It's 4-1 Banbridge, 5-1 Appreciated, 8-1 Sir Gerhard, 14-1 Stage Star, and 16-1 Bar. So you've got 2 fine judges sitting on this couch, and I'm intrigued to know what you think about Mighty Potter, Johnny Dineen.
I fancy him to probably the best bet of the meeting for me, I think, Mighty Potter. I just think he's a really, really good animal, and he looks at a different level to the ones that are against him here. He could finish up anywhere like Mighty Potter to me. He's just a better horse than these, and I think he'll win and win well. I think he's got Banbridge, Appreciated, but they're worthy like adversaries, but I still, when it comes to it, I think he'll beat them.
Okay, you obviously don't have to reveal figures, but financially, will Mighty Potter be one of your biggest bets of the week?
I'd expect so. Yeah. Like, it's very hard.
You can dictate it.
I know, but it's very
You're in
hard.
possession of the cash.
Yeah, but it's very hard to predict from a gambler. Like, it could do anything. My biggest bet could be in the 505 in Huntington.
No, Johnny, no.
On Wednesday, on a big Chevy Chase.
No.
But look, on what I know now, I think he would be one of my bigger bets. Yeah.
Mighty Potter. For you, Gary, you a Mighty Potter fan?
I am very much so, yeah. I think, obviously, this was the race Gallopin des Champs had the infamous fall in last year. I think this fella's in that sort of league, potentially.
Wow.
We could easily be here in 12 months' time talking about this fella as a big player in the Gold Cup.
You're booking your ticket back fairly quick there, Gary. Now, we still have 2 more days to get through.
Well, I'm booking Mighty Potter's ticket anyway. Look, the one worry is the run at Cheltenham last year. It's worth remembering, actually, he was very well backed in the run-up to the race on the day. Yeah. So I don't know whether there's any lack of confidence in him because he travelled badly or anything like that. I just think for whatever reason it was an off day. It's the only bad race he's ever run in his life. He only got beat once before that, which was in the Royal Bond Novice Hurdle, which he was clearly the best horse in, just didn't get the breaks on the day. He's won a couple of Grade 1s over 2 miles over hurdles. He's got the pace, he stays, he'll get further in time as well. And it's funny, actually, the day he won it down Royal first time out, I was really unimpressed by him. But the 2 wins since then, the Dineen Novice Chase and the Leopardstown race last time, just the way he's pulled away at the finish, and he still gives the impression he's got plenty left in the tank as he does so as well, dishing out a beating to some fair horses in the process. So I'd be really disappointed if this fella gets beat now. I think he'd be my nap of the week as well.
There we go. The 2 lads are singing from the same hymn sheet. It is Mighty Potter in the Turners, currently a 6-4 shot with Bet365. Moving on to the Pertemps final. Your 7-2 favourite is Shoot First for Charles Burns and Philip. Thanks for the help. 13-2, 15-1 Percival, Le Galois, 8-1 Maxim, and 10-1 Bar. Johnny, you're a Shoot First man.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to be the horse that they have to beat. Again, this is a race where I don't see the bookies winning in. I think the first 3 are up at the top of the market. Will be thereabouts. The Pertemps is never a great race for bookies anyway, because it's a kind of confined one. Like Shoot First is like found in the betting 7-2. He can't be much shorter now, surely, but he's the one they all have to beat. He's been primed for the race by a man that can prime him properly, and I'd be loath to oppose him. Although the McManus too, the second and third in, thanks for the help, and Gavin Cromwell's horse, Percival, they're dangerous. But
Thanks for the help needs a lot to come out.
Does he?
Yeah. I didn't think he did he?
Oh, does he not know?
I didn't think he did either. Okay. No. I thought he was with his penalty from Chepstow. Okay. He would have been in. I think he's some way dangerous because he didn't half win in that race now, and he's a horse with probably an application of a tongue strap or something after the wind up or whatever. He's after something after happening to him because he's after being revolutionised or whatever. But I'm going to go with the favourite, Shoot First. I think he'll win, but he had the great price now at the same time.
7-2 with Bet365. Shoot First. Have you found that for us here, Gary?
I'm afraid we're singing from the same hymn sheet, Dave. This is another one of the horses I was talking about that obviously got his mark in England, cashed in on it earlier on in the season. Got £10. £10 wouldn't have stopped him that day, let's face it. He won with plenty in hand. And obviously, he could only be raised in kind of keeping with the horses that he ran against that day. It's not like an Irish horse who has bolted up at home and then gets £5, £6, £7 added on. This fellow is rated based around the horses he ran against, the home horses in that race. So the boxes are ticked. He qualified that day as well. He's still going to be at the right end of the handicap. He's got a huge amount going for him. Yeah, the price is maybe a little bit on the short side. You might get a little bit bigger on the day, but he's by far the most likely winner for me. And I think Johnny's spot on about the next 2, the 2 JP McManus horses would be next best for me. That is not good news for me at all, because I'm a big Walking on Air fan. All right, well, I hope he's wrong, lads. Anyway, that is the Pertemps final, which is off at 2:10 on Thursday. Moving on to the 250, it is the Ryanair Shishkin, currently our 4-5 favourite with Bet365. 5-1 Blue Lord, 8-1 Jannadale, 17-2 Fury Road, and 12-1 Bar. So far the 2 favourites have bolted up, right? Mighty Potter's won by 10 lengths. Shoot First hasn't come off the bridle, Gary. Is this going to be 3 in a row for the Jollies? It could easily be. We saw Shishkin back to his best last time, which was something I wasn't sure we would see again from him after.
Neither was Johnny, would you?
Obviously, well,
Johnny thought we'd never see it again.
I doubt we were alone. After Cheltenham last year, and then I thought the run in the Tingle Creek was kind of dispiriting, to be honest. Like he looked a shadow of himself that day as well. But last time at Ascot, it was everything you wanted to see, wasn't it? Travelled well, jumped well, ran right to the line.
His race,
Funny enough, that was the one thing I was a little bit wary about, was that he was driven all the way out to the line, whether maybe could end up having a slightly harder race than ideal in his, what's still effectively a prep run for the Cheltenham Festival. But good judges, better judges than me, Ruby Walsh, etc. think...
No such thing, Gary. That's why you're here.
Ruby knows his onions, in fairness. He thinks it'll actually help that he was ridden out all the way to the line, that it'll bring him on more. So look, it's very hard to pick holes in him. If he turns up in that sort of form, look, he's going to win.
And if he doesn't, have you found that not a bigger
I don't think there's any downside to backing Janadil each way.
Yeah.
I was in Gowran Park when he won.
He was big that day.
I was kind of second guessing myself, did I call this wrong? I wouldn't be a huge paddock judge or anything like that, but he did look burly to me in the parade in that day. But a lot of people who'd be close to the yard backed it up afterwards. I don't think they expected him to win that day. So that's a plus point for him, that he was able to win, beat a good yard sticking out on Clare, who plenty of people were talking about as a candidate for this race until then. I suppose he has had the odd jumping blip in his CV in the past, but if he puts in a clear round, he ran well in the race behind Allaho previously, I'd struggle to see him out of the frame. So look, if Shishkin does go back to the Shishkin we saw in the Tingle Creek, or God forbid the horse that ran here last year, he's the one I think could take advantage.
And 8-1 Janadil each way for Gary O'Brien. These are anti-post prices, not no bet, anti-post prices with Bet365. 8-1 Janadil. Johnny, where do you stand on Shishkin?
Look, if you laid him the last day, it's very hard to lay him again. You know what I mean? It is, because if he does perform the way he performed in Ascot, he will win this. But whether he'll back it up after 3.5 weeks, who knows? I wouldn't be so sure that he would. Do I want to back him? Definitely not. Do I want to lay him? Probably not either. Look, I probably want to have a bet in the race in the finish. But if I was going for one, maybe Janadil or Fury Road, something like that each way. But it's, look, you're kind of betting on the well-being of a horse. You're not like, he's the best horse. Whether he will back up what he did in Ascot, that's what you're betting on. It's a funny thing to be betting on, really. You know what I mean? So like, he is a horse with, there is a question mark about him though at the same time. He isn't, like, he's shown that he can throw in the odd stinker. So for me, like, if I backed him now, I wouldn't be well for a week after. Do you know what I mean? That kind of way. You after laying him.
You're not well anyway, Johnny.
Yeah, I know that, yeah, but well, but
it'd be worse.
I'm getting treatment for that stuff. The tablets. But look, I think he'll probably win, but I'm not going to play either way.
Okay. There you go. That is your Ryanair Chase. The feature race on Thursday. It is the Stayers Hurdle, and on the drift is Blazing Cal, 130 with Bet365. 92 Marie's Rock, who looks like she's going to go here instead of the Mare's Hurdle. It is also 92 Chihupu, who might get his ground. There's a bit of rain in the air. 11-2 Home by the Lead, 13-2 Flooring Porter, 12-1 Classical Dream and Gold Tweet, and 16-1 Bar. Johnny Dineen, take it away. Home by the Lead.
Look, I think there's only 4 have any chance. Blazing Cal, Home by the Lead, Chihupu and Marie's Rock. So
top 4 in the market. That's really good, Johnny.
Yeah, but the only one that is absolutely solid is Home by the Lead. He may not be the best of the 4. He probably isn't, but he's the one horse I think is guaranteed to give its running, guaranteed to get the trip, guaranteed to do everything to the best of his ability. And for me, he's a stonking each way bet, probably the best each way bet of the meeting for me anyway. I can't see 3 horses. I think you'd be cruel and lucky if the 3 of them turn up and beat him. Like Blazing Cal is not even a guaranteed runner. Chihupu is definitely ground dependent, and Marie's Rock has to. Like, okay, everyone thinks that, a lot of fellas say, "Oh, she'll get the trip." They'd all say that she'll get the trip until she still has to go and get the trip, and she's got to get it in a red hot race as well. So she's going to have to stay probably 6 furlongs more than she's ran before. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not as if she's running in a race like the Ballymore hurdle, and it's nothing in it, and you'll get 3 mile in the race even if you don't stay 3 mile. She's got to stay 3 mile in with Flooring Porter going off 100 mile an hour. You know what I mean? So for me, she's not a certain stayer, and she's got to be good enough as well on top of that. So I'm going to go with Home by the Lead. I think he's a banker each way.
Okay, it's the first time we've used Donkin in the series anyway. So.
Is that right?
Yeah, this must be serious.
Kept it up his sleeves.
Donking each way bet.
I have a few more of them.
For Friday.
No, but they're fairly colourful, some of them.
Before the watershed, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it is Home by the Lead, a stonking each way bet for Johnny Dineen. Do you agree, Gary O'Brien?
I don't have a stonking bet in it, Dave, but I've actually flipped on this race a few times. Earlier on in the season, I was kind of in the Flooring Porter camp. he obviously had a setback then. I took a positive view of his run at Christmas. I thought there was, promise in that, but obviously the setback, it's not ideal. And then obviously if all these other horses coming out of the woodwork into the race now, Blazing Cal has come into it. Humble Ali obviously has really burst onto the scene this year. I know he was around last year, but obviously he looks an improved Arkle this time around. The French horse, obviously, I don't necessarily fancy him, but he's come into it as well. Tihupo winning at Gowran Park, and Blazing Cal as well. So it's a totally different race now. I would be positive about Marie's Rock staying the trip. I think it's a real vote of confidence in her if they do come here with her rather than run her in the race she won last year. And she is quite stoutly bred. She's by Milan, and it's quite a stout pedigree she has. She's come up the hill like a rocket a couple of times now, which would be a plus for me as well. Tihupo's a horse I'm a big fan of, but like a lot of people, I think soft ground is important to him. He looked really good at Galway, at Gowran last time, beating up inferior opposition. He's got plenty more to give, I think. Very respectful of Blazing Cal, but Johnny tells me the vibes aren't great there. So I think I'd be Marie's Rock just over Tihupo. Certainly on better ground, softer ground, it's much closer.
And Johnny, just before we move on, Gold Tweed, the French horse, any chance?
Oh, absolute million, absolute. That's no chance whatsoever. What price is that? 12 to 1?
That, Johnny, Gold Tweed is a 12 to 1 shot.
Yeah, I would be surprised if that's in the first 5-6 even. Couldn't get anything Arkle anyway. Like, I think I read somewhere where some guy reckoned that it was about 140 horse in France that had run above itself even the last. Right. Even its last run in Cheltenham gives it no chance anyway. Right. None whatsoever.
I actually knew the answer to my question. I just wanted to get the million.
You want a little rant?
Johnny's rant. Gold Tweed cannot win the stairs hurdle.
No, definitely not. No.
The Mayor's Novice Hurdle is next up on Thursday. Lucia is your 7 to 4 favourite. Bet365. Ashford Diamond 7 to 2. Night and Day 7 to 1. Lot of Joy 8 to 1. 11 to 1 Bar. Lucia, is she a real solid banker, Gary?
I'm not sure she is, to be honest. Very talented mare. It's kind of difficult to knock a horse with her record, but her jumping just was a little bit hit and miss last time, and she's obviously going to be taking on a better calibre of opposition here than she has in the past. Willie Mullen's got a great record in the race. He's going to throw an awful lot of darts at this, and we've seen in the past, horses that you almost hadn't even heard of have run well in this. Concertista went very close to winning the first time out for him. The horse Noel Feely retired on, Eglantine. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the type of race where that type of thing can happen. I'd be loath to take a short price about Lucia. I think I'd look elsewhere. Lot of Joy. It was kind of disappointing initially when she went over hurdles, got beaten a couple of times, and I kind of lost faith with her a little bit, but she did get her head in front last time. Seems to be a bit of confidence in the camp that she's taken a good step forward from that as well. Astro Diamond maybe has achieved a little bit more out of the Mullins horses than she has so far. She's definitely got a good chance as well, but I'd probably wait until the day before I kind of finalise my thoughts on it, but a lot of Joy is the way I'm leaning at the minute. A lot of Joy currently at 8 to 1 shot with Bet365. Johnny, what way are you seeing this? I'd be against Lucia anyway, definitely. I will know. I think in around 2 to 1. I think she's opposable, and I think, as Gary said, this is probably an open race. I was going to go for a lot of Joy, but the price went there about 10 days ago. It's into single figures now, 7 or 8 to 1. That's not a great bargain in my eyes. I think it has a good chance, but I'd be inclined to oppose Lucia. Like, her jumping is messy. The race she won, I think people are reading too much into the fact that she won a listed hurdle first time. It was a glorified selling hurdle, wasn't it? Like, it was a maiden hurdle anyway at best. Do you know what I mean? It might have been Newbury of a weekend and a listed hurdle, but it was an ordinary race at the same time, and it did. Okay, it won easy, and it won easy in Exeter, but the horses had beaten Exeter no good at the same time, and it looks like a horse with a share of issues too. Like, you've stuff like colic hanging over it, and then they're on about putting her in foal. So if her racing lifespan must be short anyway, by the sounds of all this. I'm willing to take a chance that she doesn't win anyway. And in a big field, she'll need everything to go right, and I might have something on a lot of Joy, even though the price is as short as it should be on all known form. Okay, the two boys are very much against Lucia in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and fans of a lot of Joy. The Plate is next, and So Scottish, who has been favoured for this race ever since December, is currently 4 to 1 favourite. Bet365 adamantly chosen as 9 to 1, along with Hot on Colours, 10 to 1 Il Ridotto, and 11 to 1 Bar. So Scottish, Johnny, is this one of the handicap good things of the week? No, I wouldn't have thought so. I thought So Scottish very, very short, very short. I mean, he's run in
like, how did he get beaten tomorrow that night as well? Unbelievable, wasn't it? In a maiden hurdle. And that's not that long ago, like, is it? It's within the last 9 months. But anyway, he's running Ascot. That was against Boot Hill, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that only gives him a chance. I mean, he was seconded, so he
Trip, though. I think he'll improve for the step up on trip.
Yeah, probably. Look, I think he only has a chance. That's all. And like, I don't really fancy him, to be honest. No, I don't. I was given the horse called That's All Right Gino a chance.
Yes.
But it is an open race too. But I didn't think there was a 4-1 shot in. Like, what price is so Scottish? Is he?
4-1, yeah.
I didn't think there's any 4-1 shot in this now.
So That's All Right Gino for Johnny.
Yeah, it's small each way. Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, it's not one I'd have a strong view on, Dave. Scottish, easy for me to say. I'd respect him. Obviously, it looks as though he's been put away for it after the run at Ascot last time. Emmett Mullen's good man when he targets a race. But as Johnny said, it's a skinny enough price. He got a fair old hike for that run as well. So. It's probably one I'll take a closer look at once the decks are in.
And we conclude Thursday with the Kim Muir, and this is all about Stumptown. You put it up on the show at 7-1. I thought that was a ridiculously short price. They can't get this short enough, Johnny Dineen, this Stumptown.
Yeah.
Jumps like Arkle.
It's a good chance, very good chance. But again, like, he's priced out of commission really now. You know what I mean?
How short is he going to go off?
He can't get any shorter than these now anyway, surely. Look, and it's 3.25 miles for a novice. Like, it's a stiff enough test for him at the same time. Like, he's a horse with potential to be better than these, or most of these anyway. But he still has to do things right on the day. I won't be backing him at 7-2 anyway. No way. No.
This time last year we were all talking about Frontal Assault was the Stumptown of this year.
Yeah, look, I think he's a good chance. Like, if you're not on at 7 or 8-1,
forget about it.
I think so. Yeah.
Gary?
I'd be a fan of Stumptown, but the price obviously is a bit on the skinny side. I haven't backed him at any bigger prices.
The smile says something else to me.
No, I'd own up if I had. I'd love to be sitting on a nice docket with him. But the one thing I would say, it looks a real good bit of planning here from Gavin Cromwell. Went to Sandown, knew he had to get him up the weights to get him into this. Also, obviously, running him off his British mark there. So same thing that I was talking about earlier on. He's can only be raised in kind of accordance with the horses he ran against that day. He's still going to be at the right end of the weights. He's got a top man on board. Basically, there's not an awful lot not to like. The one I'd mention against him is Angel's Dawn.
Yeah, Derek O'Connor booked.
Derek O'Connor, yeah. Is he definitely riding her, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. A mare I've got a lot of time for. I think she would have won the national trial at Punchestown last time. Thought she was very well handicapped going into that. She's only, I think, £2 higher across the water as well. What I don't like is that style of racing, particularly in a race like this. She's dropped in near the back. You need all the cards to fall your way in a 20-runner field like the Kim Muir is, 20-odd runners.
But it's been done before, though.
It has been done.
Causes.
Of course it has, yeah. And look, I'm not saying she can't win. I think she is well handicapped. Again, has a top amateur on board. But I think I'd prefer Stumptown.
Okay, all that's left to do now on Thursday is a bit of playing and laying. Johnny Dineen, your lay of Thursday is?
I can't even remember.
Thursday's the third day, right?
Right, okay.
Third day, you have the Ryanair is on the stairs. Lucia is in the mare's number.
Yeah, look, I'll back Mighty Potter. That's
no, well, I want you to lay first.
Okay, I'll go with I'll lay it Lucia. So
Lucia, Gary.
It's going to be snap here, I think.
Lucia,
yeah.
and your play.
I'll go Mighty Potter. Yeah.
Gary.
Ditto. Just ahead of Shoot First, who I think will win as well.
Okay, there you go. That was Thursday at the Cheltenham Festival. Still with us, we've moved on to day 4 of the Cheltenham Festival Gold Cup day, and it kicks off with the JCB Triumph Hurdle at 1:30. And your current favourite, they keep flip-flopping, but your current favourite Bet365 at 7-4 is Lossiemouth. It is 15-8 about Blood Destiny, 11-2 Ballymore, 12-1 Comfort Zone, cracking each way bet that Comfort Zone, and 20-1 Bar. Gary O'Brien, Lossiemouth 7-4 favourite. The right favourite? The most likely winner?
She's definitely the right favourite, and she probably is the most likely winner, to be honest. She's got the graded form. Everybody could see how unlucky she was at Leopardstown last time. I would expect her. I know people have been making a case for Ballymore, so maybe being the value bet against her, but I think she will turn it around. The worry is obviously that Blood Destiny is a bit of an unknown quantity, and a few members of the Mullins camp seem to think he's a fair horse himself. He's obviously gone a different route, didn't go to Leopardstown. won a maiden hurdle at Cork, and then won an uncompetitive graded race at Fairyhouse last time. We more or less had a solo that day. He was all over after a couple of hurdles. But the one thing that struck me about him, when he won in Cork, I interviewed Paul Townend after the race, and I remember him saying, I think I asked him where would he fit in the pecking order, and he said he'd be right up there in the top echelon of the juveniles. So even at that stage, they thought he was a good horse, and it sounds like he's only blossomed since we saw him at Fairyhouse last time. So that's just something that would be in the back of your mind if you were thinking about maybe having a good wedge on Lossiemouth to kick off the last day. Nothing against her. She's pretty much done everything right. It was no fault of hers what happened at Leopardstown last time. I think it's between the two of them. Don't see myself having a bet.
Johnny?
I'd say it's between the two of them myself, actually, and I have a feeling, no, it's only my gut feeling, that Blood Destiny is going to improve past Lossiemouth. I have a feeling Lossiemouth may have just reached her peak, but I can see Blood Destiny improving. Like he's a kind of an embryonic chaser, whereas this one is a now horse Lossiemouth. I have a feeling he's getting better, and in a small field, maybe I'd say being ridden aggressively, I could see him being hard to catch.
Okay, so it's Blood Destiny for Johnny Dineen. And Gary, you think it's a two-horse race, but slightly towards Lossiemouth?
Only just, like it's a toss of a coin job almost, you know.
That is your JCB Triumph Hurdle. Moving on to the County Hurdle, and Filey Bay, your runner-up in the Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, is currently your 5-1 favourite. 9-1 Pembroke, it is 10-1 Hunter's Yarn, 12-1 Winter Fog, 12-1 Aconris, 12-1 Sharjah off 155, and it is 14-1 Bar. Johnny, we'll start with you here. The County Hurdle. When you were bookmaking in Cheltenham, this was a race I'm sure you adored.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one that God wouldn't have a bet in the County Hurdle in my eyes.
I don't think he was a punter.
He wouldn't face this anyway.
No.
Look, Stateman won it last year, but that's like just a one-off. Normally, you couldn't back the winner this jumping the last. Not mine tried to before.
Well, hold on a second now. Statement Santois, well-backed favourite.
Yeah, but like
there's
two, I suppose. Yeah, but
Grade 1 winner as well.
They have history would suggest that you have a great chance of result in this race. And I would have thought Filey Bay's good chance. Like this will be surely a better race than the Betfair Hurdle, I would have thought, and he missed there, so probably might have won if he jumped to second last at the same time. Look, it's a race that wouldn't appeal to me at all as a betting medium anyway.
At all.
None whatsoever. No.
None.
Fellas were giving Sharjah a chance. I couldn't have that. Anyway.
I give him a big chance.
Yeah, I think that's $1 million now anyway. Off top.
Is it? Will you give me $1 million?
I
know. €1 at $1 million.
yeah.
Sharjah has to have a chance off 155. He was rated 167 not so long ago.
I think when those kind of horses get top weight, their ratings are irrelevant then. 1.5.
Arctic Fire.
Yeah, I know he won that race, all right. But again, it's a fluke. It's Arctic Fire, another fluke one of these at 20-1. Maybe Sharjah will do it too. I won't be back in a minute. But look, it's a hard race. For me, it's a non-event. It's a
non-event for Johnny Dineen. Are you more optimistic about it, Gary?
I'll have a closer look at it. Maybe a game when the decks are in, David. I'd be interested to see do any of the novices run in it. Filey Bay is a solid favourite. He did very well at Newbury. I thought he was the only one that came out of the pack and was able to land a blow on the winner. Couldn't quite get past him in the end, but it was a big run. Yeah, an £8 rise, I suppose, is tasty enough, but he looks as though he's well up to winning a good handicap hurdle, whether it's this one or not. Time will tell, but at this stage he'd be my idea the most likely winner, but I'll give it closer consideration maybe near the time.
Okay, we'll have a chat with Gary near the time to see what he really fancies in the County Hurdle. For the Albert Bartlett is next up just before the Gold Cup on Friday, and Corbett's Cross, your impressive winner over 2 miles at Naas, is your 4-1 favourite, Bet365. It is 13-2 Embassy Gardens on the Drift, 15-2 Tree Car Bragg, 9-1 Hidden Valley Lake, 10-1 Bar. Gary, Corbett's Cross, obviously bought by JP McManus from Paul Byrne since he won at Naas. I think Found a 50 is a good horse. That looks like solid form if he turns up.
Well, it has to be, I think. Found a 50 looked very good when he won his maiden. Previously beat a horse of Willie's that came out and won an egg and spoon race the other day, Permenion. Like the question you ask yourself is, who else in this field could have done what Corbett's Cross did at Naas? And the reason you're asking yourself that question is because you know he stayed 3 miles, you know he goes on any ground pretty much. So what's going to beat him if he runs? I'd struggle to see him beat if he turns up here, to be honest. The one question you'd be asking yourself is, will he run? Is it too close to Cheltenham? He's obviously got a new owner now. Will JP McManus want to give him a bit more time? I don't know. If he pitches up here, it'll be a fair vote of confidence in him that he's able to win a grade 2 over 2 miles, that he's proven over 3 miles on testing ground as well. Hard to see any flaws in him. If he doesn't run, it obviously opens it up completely. There's a lot of horses in it I like. Hidden Valley Lake, I think he might be able to turn the Clonmel form around with his stablemate. Gordon Elliott's horse, 3 Card Bragg. He's got a couple of nice horses in it. The one that ran in Clonmel is no slouch either. The one that was third to Monty Star. Just can't think of his name now. And
Search for Glory.
Search for Glory, that's the horse. And I know not everyone agrees with me, but I think Embassy Gardens is a fair horse too. He didn't jump great when he won at Thurles, but that's the race that Monkfish used as a stepping stone before he went on to win this. And he could be in a similar sort of mould to Monkfish. He's a big staying chaser. I think he will improve and has a bit more to give. But the whole thing revolves around whether Corbett's Cross pitches up. I wouldn't be looking any further if he does. So,
Johnny, we know if it rains, you're in the 3 Card Bragg camp.
Yeah.
I think he's unbeatable on really deep ground.
Yeah, I think he's an aeroplane on heavy ground. Yeah, but he won't get his ground, but surely. It's unlikely that he will anyway. Look, if he's going to be 8 or 9 to 1 at the same time, I might just have a stab off him and hopefully that he'll go on the ground the once. They always say that they might go on it once. So, like, it's not as if you're backing yoke 6 or 7 to 4. You know what I mean? So, it's only a small penalty to pay if you're wrong. And look, it's an open race. Corbett's Cross is a very good horse. Of course he is. And like Gary said, there's not many horses can be that durable to run 2 mile goodish, 3 mile heavy. Like the last horse I seen doing that was Faheen. You know, so he was able to win in Limerick, bottomless ground 3, and come back and win a champion hurdle maybe 18 months later. So that's the kind of horse you're probably dealing with here. It is a good race though at the same time. Like, there's plenty of horses in this race with chances. I'll probably finish up. I wouldn't sleep a wink if I didn't back 3 Card Bragg. I'd rather lose me few bob anyway and let him get beat. You know that kind of way?
I think I'd even sleep if you didn't back 3 Card Bragg. All the talking you're doing about him.
Yeah, look, maybe the ground is probably going to be a worry, but the fact that there's less hurdles here is a help to him. You know what I mean?
He's kind of awkward.
He is. He's a bit of a messer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it's 3 Card Bragg for Johnny if the ground is deep, and Gary is very much a Corbett's Cross fan. But you do have plenty of time for others in the race, so we will see if Corbett's Cross shows up. The feature race on Friday, and the highlight of the week, it is the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup half-3 on St Patrick's Day. Sure, what else would you be doing only watching the Cheltenham Gold Cup? 13-8 favourite with Bet365 is Galloping the Shams. 13-2 Brave Man's Game, 7-1 last year's 15-length winner at Plutar. It is 9-1 Statler and 10-1 Noble Yates, 14-1 Conflated and 16-1 Bar. 13-8 Johnny Dineen, Galloping the Shams. All the real right guys fancy Galloping the Shams, so I presume you do.
No, I won't be backing him anyway. I think he's short. I think he has a bit to prove yet. One thing I have a slight worry about, I might be dreaming now, but I have a feeling that he may have left his Gold Cup in Leopardstown. I think he had a hard race there.
Wow.
I do. I think he had a hard race there, and he was struggling to get by Fury Road for a long time. And I think if you backed him at 5-2 on, you were glad to see him eventually like sealing it. Like
by 8 lengths.
I know he won 8 lengths in the finish, but Fury Road couldn't walk on the run in. He didn't put any ground against Statler from the last home, which was worrying me slightly. And he did. I think he had a hard race there, and I'm not so sure about him, to be honest. At 13-8 or 7-4, 2-1 even, I think he's bad price myself. And the fellas, everyone thinks he'll stay. He still has to go and do it at the same time. Like, he's almost too good a horse to win a Gold Cup.
Win a Gold Cup.
I think so, yeah. Do you know,
too good to win the best race at Cheltenham.
Yeah, but it's very often like it's about I don't know how you'd break it down, but it can be won by class horses, the likes of Cato Star and the likes of Plutard and maybe Disfall if he does win it. Do you know what I mean? But it can also be won by the Synchronized and the Cool Grounds and all them kind of horses as well. And to me, Noble Yates kind of falls into that category. I'm going to go with a horse from that category anyway. I'm going to chance him. I think each way, I think he will be in the first 3. He isn't the best horse in the race, but the Gold Cup sometimes isn't won by the best horse in the race. So for me, it'll be Noble Yates each way anyway.
Noble Yates each way for Johnny Dineen. Are you a Galloping the Shams fan, Gary?
Oh, I'd be a fan of the horse, David, yeah. Whether I'd back him, I don't know. I think it's a strong Gold Cup. I'd probably struggle to face into him at the sort of price he is. I'm just happy to see him win, put in a tour de force performance if that's what he's going to do. I mean, coming away from Cheltenham last year, I've got to admit I thought a Plutard would come back and win it again. I might even win 3 Gold Cups the way he won it last year, but it's mad. He's almost like a dark horse now, isn't he? After only one run since, it was a horror run. in Haydock. He had the issue at Leopardstown at Christmas. Like, I mean, if he can, it'd be a hell of an achievement now by Henry de Bromhead and his team, but if he can recapture the sort of form, the sparkle he showed last year, it's a totally different race then. He probably would win in my book if he can reproduce it.
It's quite interesting. I've seen somebody on Twitter say the other day, he's the forgotten horse that nobody has forgotten about.
Probably fair comment, yeah.
Because at all the preview nights we say, the forgotten one is absolute tar, but we're not forgetting about him. But he does have a lot to prove, doesn't he?
He does a huge amount to prove. Like, look, I couldn't back him even at the price he is. I suppose the doubts are built in there. Nothing against Brave Man's Game either. I was quite impressed by him in the King George. I used to think maybe he might struggle to see out the Gold Cup trip at Cheltenham. I think I've actually changed my tune on that now. I'd be more positive about that. Obviously Paul Nicholls knows a thing or two about this as well, so he's pretty confident about him too. If you look a little bit further down the list, I think there might be a little bit of an angle here looking without the top two if a Plutar doesn't turn up with his A game again.
Where are we going here?
I don't fancy Statler. Not mad about Noble Yates either. I think he's too short. Conflated is the one I think is overpriced. He's a classier
14-1 Bet365.
He's a classier horse to me than Noble Yates or Statler. And I've no queries about the trip for him whatsoever. Like, he's won a couple of those big races in Leopardstown over 3 miles. Saw it out pretty well. I thought he was a bit unlucky not to win the Grade 1 in Aintree the Bowl last year as well when Clandazobo beat him. Maybe they missed a chance not running him last year. I think Gordon Elliott said himself he would have finished second at Plutar. I agree with him for what it's worth. It's probably a stronger race this time around, but I'm going to probably on the day look to some sort of angle there. Maybe without the top two, might have a few quid on Conflated.
Conflated at the moment is 14-1 Bet365. But Johnny Dineen is very much a Noble Yates fan. He thinks it could be a synchronised year for Noble Yates, your Grand National winner. So moving on to the Hunter's Chase, and this is all about Vossele, it seems, Gary. He's the one horse that his price has always been quite short since Christmas. He obviously won it down Royal. Are you a Vossele fan?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And look, I would absolutely love David Christie.
He's been in the wars.
To have a winner, yeah. He's not well at the minute, and he's not going to be able to be in Cheltenham himself. So look, I'd love to see this horse win for him. He had some absolutely gut-wrenching near misses last year, obviously with Wing Leader in this race. Vossele at Punchestown as well, Billaway chinned him, could have gone either way. Took it like a man, just said we'll come back and have another go next year. He's a proper point-to-point Hunter Chase man. None of these horses he's got have won Grade 1s and then gone down the point-to-point Hunter Chase route. I would love to see this horse win from him, and I really think he can as well. Yeah,
2-1 favourite Bet365 Vossele. I think he'll win too. Johnny, you're keeping the faith with Billaway, which is very un-Johnny Dineen-like, because usually the older they get, the less you like them. Yeah,
I just think he's a chance. Like, the favourite is the most likely winner, and if the ground ride's good, I think he'll be nigh on impossible to beat. I think the softer the ground, the less chance for Vossele, and the better chance Billaway have to be able to hang on to him. You know what I mean? On good ground, I could see Billaway being out of a race pretty early now, you know. Vossele would be hard to beat. And any fella that I speak that looks at point-to-points, I don't look at point-to-points hardly anymore. They all fancy the favourite anyway. Right, I mean, so look, I wouldn't be opposing Vossele now either. He's 2-1. I suppose, look, that's about fair, I'd say.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we're all very much in the Vossele camp, 2-1. Of course, Johnny Dineen watches loads of point-to-point racing in preparation for the show. Our penultimate race of the 28 is the Mayor's Chase, and it looks a match on paper between Allegory Devassi and the horse who I've forgotten the name of, which is Impervious and Allegory Devassi. Now, I've done a Race and Post preview, Gary, and I was very, very keen on Allegory Devassi. I know she jumps to her right, but I think she's a bit of a beast. And Paul Keeley ridiculed me. He said, this mare has no chance. What are your thoughts?
I would agree with you fully in terms of Allegory Devassi's ability. I think she's absolutely riddled with talent. When she won in Limerick, like the dogs had been barking about her for a while, she won in Limerick, absolutely skated in, jumped brilliantly for probably 80% of the race, and then just kind of, whether it was loss of concentration or whatever over the last two, I don't know, she was a little bit sticky at those two. Then obviously she had the early scare at Thurles, and I don't know, did she lose a bit of confidence after that? She flung herself at 1 or 2 fences. It wasn't easy to watch. If anybody had bet the odds, tried to pick up
Johnny
a handy few
I
quid.
did not know.
Only joking, he's not that bad.
He had sweaty palms there not too long into it. But I do think in terms of ability, she is probably a level above the opposition here. I'm a big fan of Impervious. I love her attitude. When she needed a good jump in those 2 novice chases at Cork and Punchestown, she delivered. But the bottom line is she did need them. I don't think she'd have won without a good jump at the last in both those 2 races. So is she good enough to beat an unsung Allegory Devassi? I think Allegory Devassi will need to make a few mistakes or underperform for Impervious to beat her.
I completely agree. Johnny, are you an Allegory Devassi fan?
I am, yeah, definitely. I do think Allegory Devassi has more raw ability than Impervious, and if she does things right, I'd fancy her fairly strongly. One of the better bets of the meeting now, to be honest. Yeah.
I agree, Johnny.
Good.
We actually agree on something. There you go. Allegory Devassi for Johnny Dineen, Gary O'Brien and David Jennings in the Mayor's Chase. And the final one, the 28th and final race, is the Martin Pipe for conditional jockeys. Johnny, we're going to stick with you here. It's always an open heat. Have you ever backed the winner of it?
The Martin Pipe. I backed the winner
Gallop
of it.
in the Champs, no?
No.
No.
I can't remember.
No.
I know I had a good bet on some York's fella the last one year was going to win anyway about 3 years ago.
Higginstown horse.
Yeah.
Commander of Fleet, I think so. Yeah. I think that might have been as close as I got to the Martin Pipe winner now, I think. I can't remember back in the winner of that, no.
Okay. Well, are you going to this year?
Look, if it won't be a big bet anyway. It won't be a life-changing one anyway. I give Imagine a chance, but again, the price has gone in from
7 to 1 now.
Yeah, it was double that about 10 days ago, and then these horses don't even run in there half the price. So, look, would you face into it at 7 to 1? Probably not. I think it's a good chance, but again, it's an open race too. If I had to pick one, I'd maybe Imagine. Imagine
for Johnny Dineen and Gary O'Brien. Send punters home happy there. Pick us out the winner of the finale.
I don't know. I wouldn't say this is a race I've backed the winner of too many times either, Dave. Imagine is a bit of a buzz horse. There seems to be plenty of chat about him of late, but as Johnny said there, and particularly given Gordon Elliott's association with the race, I think his horses are probably always going to be overbet in this, unless you can find one that maybe looks like the 3rd or 4th string, where they might overlook it because of that. Obviously, the horse Johnny likes for the Albert Bartlett, 3-card Bragg, is entered in this. I thought he had a nice mark if he was to go down this road, but it looks as though the Albert Bartlett is going to be his race instead. If he doesn't run, look, I'd probably stick with Imagine, but I couldn't back him at the prices.
Well, I'll tell you something, boys. If one of you has a good week, 2 of you will anyway, because these are very much in the same camp.
He could have left me at home.
Could have got this for half the price.
Like he did with me in Dubai.
Yeah. So 2 of the shrewdest.
Well, next year it'll be Gary and the Shark, because he didn't agree with that next time.
So 2 of the shrewdest judges in Ireland agree on plenty at the Cheltenham Festival, and they've signed us off with Imagine in the Martin Pipe. So let's do a bit of playing and laying on the final day. Your lay of Gold Cup Day, Johnny Dineen, is? Are you going for the big one?
Yeah, look, I probably will. But it won't be for a huge amount, but I'd probably take something out of it. Yeah, exactly.
What horse won't be winning in Gold Cup Day, Gary?
Look, it's a bit risky because if Allegory Devassi does something stupid, she'll probably win, but Impervious, I think, would be the one I'd say.
And your play on Gold Cup Day, Johnny?
I'll go with Blood Destiny, I think. I'll have a stab off of him, yeah.
Blood Destiny in the Triumph Hurdle, and Gary?
Corbett's Cross if he runs. If he doesn't, Vaucelet.
There you go, Vaucelet in the Hunter's Chase. And finally, the play of the 2023 Cheltenham Festival. Your strongest fancy of the entire week, Johnny Dineen.
Mighty Potter.
Gary O'Brien.
Yeah, Thursday's going to be the big day for me, David. It seems to be the same every year these days. I don't know why as well, but most of my strongest fancies run that day. And Mighty Potter will be top of the list, just ahead of Shoot First. And Stumptown, hopefully there might maybe be a little bit of a drift late in the piece there. Okay, so both our judges are going for Mighty Potter. And the one horse that cannot win at the 2023 Cheltenham Festival is Gary O'Brien. Can't win, just cannot have on your mind. I'd say Lucia. It'll absolutely hose up now, I'd say.
Lucia for Gary in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. And for you, Johnny, we know the answer to this.
Yeah, Honeysuckle.
It is Honey.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, Honey won't be coming home.
I hope not.
What about yours that's not going to win?
Mine would be Energamine. I don't fancy Energamine in the Champion Chase. I fancy Edward Stone, and I'm a big Walking on Air fan in the Pertemps final, so hopefully I can kill off Shoot First. 14 to 1. Huh?
That's a bit extreme.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I think Shoot First obviously got a big chance, but I just think off 138 Walking on Air is a big, big player. So there you go, folks. That's done and dusted. Another one, you can tick it off your list, boys.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great to have them here. I think you'll understand how privileged we are to have Gary O'Brien and Johnny Dineen in the same time at the same place talking about Cheltenham. We'll have you back again next year, hopefully, Gary.
Look forward
Go
to
for
it.
3 in a row.
Synchronised watches.
Yeah, absolutely. Very best of luck at Cheltenham. I know you're working all week for Racing
Thanks
TV.
a million. Yeah, just in the mornings every day. So yeah, looking forward to it.
So you can tune in to Gary every morning after Good Morning Cheltenham, of course, which is 8:30 to 9:30 every morning. And Johnny, you have a column every day in the Racing Post.
That's if I can stay awake.
You're not sounding very convincing here, Johnny.
Say to Johnny, I've got a cold now. Like Fran Berry, be proud of me. I've got like throat lozenges, eye drops, nasal spray. I'm trying to keep going.
It's an endurance
trying
test.
to keep going till next week and be an achievement.
I'm afraid to go to sleep because I'd wake up till Saturday. I'd be all over.
It'll be all over. So there you go. And before we go, don't forget, if you are not a member of the Racing Post Members Club, join now. You get 50% off the first 3 months. Cracking offer, which includes the Cheltenham Festival. You get to read the digital newspaper the night before, and you get all of our top tipsters, previews and reports on the Cheltenham Festival. 50% off the first 3 months. So that's it. We're counting down to the Cheltenham Festival. We're nearly there. This has been your Upping The Ante Cheltenham Festival preview. I've been David Jennings. He's been Gary O'Brien. He's been Johnny Dineen. Thanks for watching.